This is Tib. I'm back, and today I'm with Kat, who is a program manager at Element, and who has been conducting community testing sessions for various Element clients. And she's here to talk with us about testing and community testing. Kat, hello.
Hiya.
My first question might sound a bit silly, but what is a program manager, and what are you doing at Element?
So I joined Element in July. I'm quite new here, and I was the first program manager at Element. And my role here is to run various initiatives. So far, I've been focusing on how we handle our issues and development. And at the moment, I'm working on community testing. I've been working with the web app team. So I've recently started also working with mobile teams as well. Our last community testing session was actually on Android. And in the upcoming future, I'm going to be moving more of the processes we've developed for web to improve how we handle issues and defects and moving those to the mobile platforms so we can improve Element on all three platforms.
Okay, so the different projects had a lot of issues, which actually is a good sign because it means the project is very much alive, and your role is to make sure that those issues are handled properly.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And what are the community testing sessions actually?
So Element has a really big, really active community. And the community testing sessions are there to organize the community into doing targeted testing on different platforms on Element. So we started running the sessions on web, and last time we actually ran a session on Android as well. In the future, hopefully we'll run them on iOS too. And the testing sessions bring together the community members so we can target specific areas and get high quality issues out of those and then get quick turnaround on getting those fixed.
Okay, so it's a place and time for people at Element and community members to meet and discuss about things that are maybe not so polished in the products.
Yes, that's right. And also to make sure that we maintain the high quality of the products, even in the areas where they are polished.
Okay. Okay, and so anybody can participate, or is it just for developers and people who are very tech savvy?
No, the community testing sessions are for everyone. All we need is for you to be really enthusiastic about Elements, and you can take part. So we have a chat room where people can join, and it's actually really useful to have people on different platforms because different people can find issues on the different platforms. For example, I use Linux and Chromium for testing Element. I don't actually have a Windows or Mac OS machine, so if we have someone joining who's using Windows with, for example, the Edge browser, and someone else who's using Mac OS, they might be able to find issues which I don't see. And that's actually really useful for making sure that Element is really polished and works really well on all platforms.
Okay, so yeah, it's a way to get testing from humans and not just testing for robots. So getting real life cases, I guess.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and so you mentioned the room. I guess it's a Matrix room. Do people need to already have a Matrix account to join the fun, or do you accompany them to register?
So you do need to have a Matrix account to take part because we organize the testing sessions in the Matrix room. It doesn't matter which home server you're using or where you're registered. As long as you have an account, a Matrix account, you can join room. And for the testing itself, we actually use test accounts because then we can do screenshots and screen recordings to demonstrate the issues better, which don't show up any of your personal data.
Okay. And how does it look like? So if I'm I'm a community member and I want to join the fun, so I'm joining that room, and then what happens?
So when you've joined the room, you'll see that we organize the testing sessions in there. So we'll have polls to pick the dates and times for the testing sessions, links to documentation, links to the call that we do during the session. So you can actually join just in the chat room and talk to us in the chat room, or if you like, you can join us in a call and we can chat while you're doing the testing as well. And depending on which area we're targeting on the day, we have sometimes defined test cases where you need to follow very specific steps, or we might have objectives. So, for example, create a room where we want to see which paths users can take to get to those objectives and explore potential issues in any of those paths rather than one specific one.
Okay, all right, makes sense. And does it work? Did you find issues during the sessions?
We do. One of the most interesting ones we had a few weeks ago was when we were testing logging in with phone numbers. We actually found that we couldn't add phone numbers to our accounts. And on further investigation, that showed up 5 different issues across 3 projects, which was actually very helpful. And we got those fixed, which is great because the next session we were able to retest it and confirm that actually now adding phone numbers and logging in with phone numbers work for everyone.
Okay, cool. So during the session, you identified the symptoms, so people could not register a number, and then I'd say behind the scenes, but not really because development is made in the open. You and the other teams identified 3 causes, but from the person who reported the problem, they only had to say, this seems to not work for me. They didn't have to find the causes.
Yes, so the testers report the symptoms, which we can then confirm because there's a few of us testing on different platforms during the sessions at the same time. Other people can check that this is actually an issue which is a real issue and not, for example, because of some configuration problems on that person's side. And we also sometimes have developers join in the session as well. So depending on what the issue is, sometimes we figure out the causes there and then, and we discuss it with the person who found it. And sometimes we just file the issues, and developers investigate those when they pick up their work for the week.
Okay, and those are problems. So if I was somebody testing, I would be interested in bringing the issues and saying what didn't work for me, but I'd like to be kept posted to know if something happens. Is this something you do? Is it possible to keep people posted of what's happening of their reports?
Yes, of course. So element issues are filed in the public issue tracker. So anyone at all can actually go and subscribe to them to get updates on what's happening with those issues. And also, because we are doing organized testing sessions and we know who found the issue, we can follow up with that person directly to get more information, screenshots, screen recordings, help them figure out workarounds potentially. And also, when we file the issues, we share the links with everyone who took part in the session so they can go and subscribe to the issues if they want to get updates.
Okay, that's really cool. And you mentioned a public tracker and an issue. So it's a GitHub repository with an issue tracker. So everyone can already open issues. Why are you conducting the community testing sessions? What is the added value of it?
So in different sessions, we focus in different areas. For example, I mentioned we have had sessions on web. We've also done a session on Android. And every session we do go through the first user experiences, registration, login, things like that. Those areas are not often retested by people who use Element every day. So, for example, as part of my day-to-day work, I don't re-log into Element every time. I don't create new accounts because I've been an Element user for a very long time, from back when it was Riot. So I always stay logged in on all my devices. So if we do get issues in those areas, they're actually not very visible to us, but they do affect newcomers to Matrix, newcomers to Element. So we do want to get more visibility on those. And also, when we do targeted testing, for example, during the last web session, we tested verification. We had a designer and a developer who work on the cryptography team join us for the session. And it was very helpful for them to be able to get feedback there and then. And the developer who joined was able to do some debugging right away and get the right information from the people who were doing the testing.
Okay, so because we have the people who have the issue and the people who are able to test and maybe solve it in the same room at the same time, you have higher quality reports and more fluid conversation between the two, so you can get more information quickly.
Yeah, every report we get out of the testing session is really, really high quality, which means that it's actually easier to fix the issue because it's easier to debug it. And that makes a big difference.
Okay, yeah, okay, it does make sense now. So you mentioned a documentation for users who are participating in the community testing sessions. Can anyone take part anytime, or are there specific time slots where people should report issues and participate in the session?
So we dedicate a specific time slot, usually a couple of hours, for the testing session. And it's most helpful for us if everyone joins in during that time, because then we can reproduce issues on the spot. We can confirm the steps to trigger them, which is very helpful. And we are giving our attention to the community session during that time as well. Of course, everyone at Element also has other responsibilities too. So I work with other teams on other projects as well, as do our developers and designers. So it's very helpful for them to have that dedicated time slot. And of course, because we do have a public issue tracker, if anyone does find issues outside of our testing sessions, they're most welcome to file them. That's also incredibly helpful because it gives us more visibility on when there are problems.
Okay, so the added value of the sessions is to get people together. So it does make sense to only participate in the session during the dedicated time slots. But the issue tracker is still open all the time for people who want to report problems.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. When is the next session scheduled? When can we test, and what are you going to test during the next sessions?
So our next session is scheduled for next week. We're going to be testing on web, and we'll be focusing on the usual first user experiences, which we retest every session, and on voice messages and VoIP calls.
Okay, so Matrix Live, you know what you have to do if you want to help improve element and chase bugs, etc. I'm going to drop a link in the episode description to the Matrix room where you can join. Kat, thanks a lot for your time. It was super instructive, and I'm actually super excited to join the next session. I hope we are going to have many people here joining us because it sounds fun and productive. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Matrix Live, and see you next time.
Thank you.